So, hello, people of the Chao-Work. So today's lesson is about, so I decided to kind of make mental constructs as to go in the form of chapters. So you have the first chapter of our lessons is going to be about mental constructs. Now, what is a mental construct and why do we start talking about a mental construct first? Well, specifically speaking, mental constructs is a way of seeing life as something that we create. Is seeing that we have a sort of like, we create things, that everything is a projection of the mind. Be it that you're seeing me right now, that is a projection of the mind. I am a projection of your mind. And working through that paradigm to your benefit, so to speak, without going crazy and without using it as a way to avoid loneliness. It's very important when you're working with the idea of mental constructs to kind of understand that it's a refuge to understand yourself, but it's one of many realities that you can go through. Because if you continue on working with mental constructs as a part of your magical journey, it will help you a lot in self-understanding, it will help you a lot with your conduct, and it will help you a lot with understanding where you are needed and which traps you usually fall into, and to avoid falling into the traps, and to kind of choose the path yourself rather than it kind of like having to cause a lot of damage in your life before you see it. And so the first thing about mental construct, or the idea of working with things as mental construct, is, for example, you don't go into this paradigm all the time, but you take it as a refuge while you're meditating, that all is a mental construct. Idris, this guy who's talking through the Chao-Work, is part of my mental construct. And part of your mental construct, since you chose to watch this. It puts us into this area that all people are sigils. Projections. They represent us in the dream world and the physical world, which is a dream world in itself. For example, in your dream, it's always said a good way of interpreting your dreams is to interpret all the characters in the dream, that they are you and you are them. However, that is not always the case, because sometimes you are in dream states and you are visiting other people's minds, you're visiting other people's places, in my experience, in my understanding, before everybody comes and says, oh, you cannot say that. I did, and I will say more. So the idea is sometimes you, in the dream world, you connect with other people through their dreams. There are sometimes people dreaming with each other. And when they dream with each other, it's a very interesting phenomenon. And we will not go deeper into this because I am not very well equipped into this area. I'm still discovering this area, and it's a very beautiful area and scary sometimes. But the idea is that if you deal with people as sigils, for example, this person that you're dealing with has these certain qualities, and you have these certain qualities. Putting both qualities in the same place might create amazing things, might create really shitty things. Does that mean you're a bad person, or that person is a bad person? On the contrary, it means that your qualities put together in one place create something that is really beautiful, or create something that's really destructive. And the sooner you get to, like, you're able to touch these things and taste them and understand how they feel from the get-go, the sooner you learn what to dodge and what to keep in your life. And this is a continuation with the idea of discernment that we started yesterday. In my lessons, usually you'll find me going back to lessons and talking about them and repeating myself. This is because it really helps to kind of like put the foundation on ground. So how do you discern if someone is good for your path or not? Because I have seen a lot of bullshit regarding the idea that This person is a narcissist. This person is a codependent. This person is psychopath. This person is, and every person right now is a fucking therapist. Everybody knows how to diagnose a personality without even going through the necessary studies to have at least an understanding for a diagnosis. It's funny, even as a psychologist, you don't get the chance to diagnose until you've finished a certain amount of years of study. And people right now, without even any form of studying, they end up saying, this person is a psychopath. Well, how the fuck did you know? I read a book. Did you go through the initiation of becoming a psychologist? Because every school initiates you into dealing with it. It's completely different when you're learning from a book and you're learning from a person. It's two completely different things. Being a life coach could help you a lot in the idea of, I know I'm kind of like going on a periphery here, but I'll come back again. Being a life coach could help you a lot with dealing with circumstances, dealing with how to initiate things to happen, dealing with making yourself happy and joyful and all that kind of stuff. But when it comes to dealing with the human psyche, it does not just pay you off to go to a life coach. And it does not just pay you, and same is with magic. If you want to learn about voodoo, or you want to learn about this or that, it does not just pay you off that you have learned it from, like, you could learn it from a book, you could learn it from a teacher, but at the same time, you could always go back to yourself and ask yourself, did what I learned bring me results? Is what I'm working with actually developing and successfully leading me to success, or is it leading me to obsession? One of the biggest pointers to know that your magic is not working is when you start obsessing about it. A very interesting way to notice that is when you kind of look at your magic and see, like, I've been doing this meditation for so many days, or not many days, meditation sometimes works after months and years to kick in, to see the fruit of this meditation that you've been practicing. So don't drop off a practice, like, don't drop off a practice because you didn't get the results right away. However, be patient and see other people, how long they practiced certain thing and how it affected their lives. Because at the end of the day, yes, the way it will affect your life will be different how it affect other people's life, because you have different qualities than the other person. But at the same time, it wouldn't, like, for example, if someone tells you, I put this water here and I focus on it in a certain way and it brings me gold, for example. If that person can redo this experiment in front of you, or not necessarily in front of you, but rather can do this in a way that brings him results, does not necessarily mean it's going to bring you results. There is an interesting, like, it's always the prayer, not the one, it's always the one praying, not the prayer, that brings the results. It's always the magician, not the tool. And it's very important to discern when someone is selling you a tool, because no one can sell you magic. No one, I remember, like, there was this video I saw on YouTube that was really impressive. And she was like, nobody can sell you the storm in a bottle. You know, if you're going to work with Oya or Ianza, nobody is going to give you the storm in a bottle. So it's the same thing with magic. Nobody's going to give you magic. It's in you. It's with you. It's about you. It's you. So if you try to seek it outside of you, you block your own magic. And that's where it's important to kind of know which group you're going to practice magic with. And this leads me to the next point of discernment, is discerning which magical group that you're going to work with. How does this have to do with mental constructs? Well, I'm talking about discernment and how to deal with it, and we can assume this is a mental construct, but I feel like more dwelling into this area a bit and giving you what I understood about it so it could help you out with your own practices. So if you are dealing with the idea of like discerning which magical groups to work with. And I don't mean like occult groups or anything like that. No. I mean other people, because along the path when you start practicing magic, you'll be looking for people to practice magic with if you didn't already find them. And once you find those people, you will have to discern whether the magical aspects of your workings with them is actually bringing you success and fruitfulness, or is it bringing you something that doesn't help you? Is it bringing you blocks in your life? Because some people, you work magic with them and their work blocks your life. Why? Because it's not a fucking business. If it doesn't bring you good results, why keep trying to explain it, why it brings you bad results? You know? Of course, if you like the people that you're practicing magic with, it'll be a very good idea to kind of understand that, oh, okay, I can actually talk to them about it and see what is it that their blockages are, so we can work with these blockages together so we can actually make a result. But there has to be a degree of openness between people working together in a ritual. Because if there is no openness, if there is no degree of hello Bradley, if there is no degree of openness between people during the practicing of magic, a lot of people would assume that the blocks are coming from them. Because essentially, for magic to work or opening pathways, what does it mean? Opening pathways in general means clearing blocks. And we always start with our body and we end with our body. And this is very important to understand, because your body is the best sensory object that you can have. Forget about antennas, forget about fucking wands, forget about cups, forget about whatever. All these are symbolic representations and extensions of your body. If you don't have your body figured out, and if you don't know how to work with your obstacles, which start from the tensions in your body, they will keep on manifesting in your life. And you're going to keep running around those manifestations and asking, and somewhere or another, those manifestations, if you have the will to resolve this block, you will find people who will help you resolve this block with that. So, regarding mental constructs, going back to mental constructs in general, and these blocks that we find within our body, they are capsules of mental constructs. And these mental constructs, when these, what Gurdjieff calls the prison of the mind, or whatever, whoever calls it the prison of the mind, these little prisons are not really prisons. We call them prisons because we want to feel victimized by them, but they're not really prisons. They're constructs we are well aware of creating. We are not well aware of creating, we are not well aware of creating. We create them unconsciously. We keep creating unconsciously we keep creating constructs, and these constructs, what they do is they kind of like, they give us limits and boundaries. And no matter how we try to make ourselves boundless, take your time, Lord. No matter how we make our constructs and our way of dealing with things, like no matter how we make our perception of ourselves as a boundless entity or a being, at the end of the day we will require a certain construct to keep us within a frame of beliefs that keeps us within this body, for fuck's sake. We might see this body as attention, all of it as a form of tension, but it's not like that. There are tensions that keep going through your body and move through your body. And these tensions carry the keys to the constructs. And we can even notice the tensions around our body. I mean, I don't mean, of course, go to a massage every fucking month and that will solve your problems. It can solve a lot of problems. But it's more about understanding why you created this construct in the first place. Claim your authority on your body does not mean that you own your body is a very bad term. Claiming authority might seem better for me to talk about, because I feel like when you say I own my body, you don't know the half of it. You can own a part of your body, and even when you own a part of your body, that part of your body changes the next day, so good luck with that. So when you say, I want to own my body and say, this is my body, this is my hand, this is my other hand, this is my face, this is my ears, it's much better to understand that you will fill in parts of your body with your consciousness, and you can start using your body as a sensory object, rather than it being just something that accumulates tension. Because one of the ways that we accumulate tension, or the reason why we accumulate tension, is to kind of do this, like what Peter J. Carroll calls the psychic sensor. The idea of the psychic sensor in general is that we are feeling an energy that is new to us, so we do this. And this happens with dates, for example. If you're going on a new date, or if you're going for a new job, or if you're going for whatever, something that you haven't experienced before, this includes thoughts. A lot of thoughts and a lot of impulses that we have never felt before. We are doing this. And we end up obsessing about these impulses. And then we create tensions because we don't know how to create the proper construct for this impulse to be in our body. And sooner or later, you need to do some practices and exercises to learn how to work with these impulses, rather than be like, nah, I'll just let go of it. You can't let go of everything. So the trick is, and I talk more about the masculine energy here because, but one of the things that we can deal with, or the understanding of the masculine energy, is the essence of control and release. Control, release. The idea of learning how to be in the state of mind of controlling and releasing things. Because if you're always releasing, you're not keeping anything for yourself. And if you're always controlling, you are hoarding big time. And sometimes we end up receiving for others because they cannot receive themselves. I'm not so sure of this idea yet, but I'm putting it to experiment with it and to play with it a bit to see if this is actually true or not. But I feel a lot of times that we receive things for others. We receive things so we can share them with others and give them to others. And when we do so, and we share them with others, and we enjoy them, a lot of good can happen. A lot of good conditions can be brought about. The problem is, with generally speaking, with the idea of learning how to control and how to let go and control, whatever, is that we end up sometimes assuming that we have to, when we receive all impulses should be kept in our body. And the thing is, an impulse changes. It doesn't stay the same. For example, if someone is erotic around you, there are people who come in the room and everybody gets a boner, man or woman. Some people have and this is the impulses they emit. Some people come in and everybody gets confused and everybody gets stressed the fuck out. Some people come in and you just feel relaxed around them and you just want to tell them everything you have in your fucking chest. And every quality has its own payment and price. And you have to understand that you have a positive quality, which is, let's say, the comforting quality, and then you have the confusing quality. So how you're going to make your positive quality pay for your confusing quality, and vice versa. The most important thing that I want to touch on before I say the exercises for this lesson, and if you have been learning with me before, you would know that I stress on homeworks. I stress on homeworks and doing your exercises, and this would help you a lot to kind of integrate what I just said. Because sometimes I feel my words are like water, so they go everywhere. It's okay. But sometimes what earths this water and gives soil for it to grow in is the exercises that I'm going to tell you to do after every lesson. So please do the exercises, or don't do them, but please do. So, first one. What I wanted to say regarding the sensory body as a sensory object and how to deal with impulses to our benefit, and not necessarily all the time to our benefit. It's very important to understand that you're not going to always be doing things for your benefit and the benefit of others. And that's how you end up doing most of the things that you can do to the benefit of yourself and the others. When you understand that there's a destructive part of you that is not necessarily on your side, then you understand that there is a part of you that always resists, that is always scared, that is always wanting to block the good and keep inside the bad. And you get to understand that construct, because you are the one who built this construct to allow a lot of things that happen in life to make sense. At the end of the day, you want to make sense of everything. You're a sensory, like your body is a sensory object, or can be a sensory object. So you want to make sense of everything. So if you want to make sense of everything, there is a lot of things that you put inside of your body that are not necessarily there because they're of use, but to make sense of things. And that includes a lot of addictions that we have, be it beliefs, be it substance abuse, whatever. A lot of the things that we abuse is because we just want to make sense out of things. And one of the ways out of addiction is not really to kind of obstruct. Of course, you make the will first, I will not do this again. And I understand that I'm going to go through a lot of temptation to go back to doing it, because the construct will take time before it melts and turns into something else. Same with the impulse. We create constructs to house impulses, to say how the body will react to this impulse every time it receives it. So if you are receiving something good, a lot of people, including myself back in the day, when they are receiving something that is good, they will end up doing this. I will not receive. But it's being given to you. It's on a platter of gold. No. But why? I don't know. We don't know. When we go into this construct of I will not receive, I will not take what is good for me, and we try to justify it by going into places that don't help us with our life, we get in our own way. And we no longer know what's good for us. And one of the most interesting things is this is the part of our lives when we go into this construct of I will not receive what is good for me, we end up going to places to prove to ourselves not only that we don't receive good, we don't deserve to receive good. And we keep on attracting people to fill the constructs, because guess what? The construct that you put inside of you, you will create you will create the prison wards to make sure that you don't get out of this construct. And guess what? They are serving your purpose. This, of course, a lot of people who feel victimized by a lot of assailants or criminals or people who hurt them in their life, including myself, would feel a bit agitated, because they'd be like, it's not our fault that they were assholes. Definitely it was not your fault. But you know how to lessen the degree of this happening again. So definitely it's your responsibility not to go through the circumstance again. If you know and you have a possibility of avoiding the circumstance, then it's your fault if you go into that circumstance again. If you know. If you don't, then the bliss of ignorance. So how do we know our constructs, or how can we touch our constructs and understand them? And why did I choose this as the first lesson, or the first chapter of this lesson? Because this is about the great work. I call it Chao-Work because I'm a chaos magician, and I really like to jump from one paradigm to the other, as you well can see. And I feel this is much easier to kind of get to know my body and get to know the constructs that I create within it, and to know which one I want to keep and which one I should evolve and which one I should discard. I spoke about the mental construct in the first lessons is because the sooner you get to know what is good for you, the sooner you're going to get in touch with your true will. The sooner you're going to get in touch with your true will and where you're supposed to go through in this lifetime, the sooner the doors are going to open for you. The sooner you're going to get away from people who don't help you with your life and just keep on dragging you. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be helping people, because there is this part in the work. Let's call it the Chao-Work or the work. There is this part in the work where we assume that doing good is not good, where we assume kindness is not helpful. And that is because we create another construct in defense of the bad, where we assume that being a giving person is a bad thing. There's nothing wrong with being a giving person. Actually, it is important that you become a giving person and learn what you can share and what you keep for yourself. This is a big part of bringing the good condition, or making your magic, bringing good conditions for yourself and others. So if you, for example, you are learning, let's say, for example, you just came out of a bad relationship, or you came out of a bad friendship. When I say bad friendship, I didn't say bad friend, or bad girlfriend, or bad boyfriend, or bad husband, or bad wife. I said bad relationship. I called the circumstance bad, not the person bad. And essentially, there's no bad circumstance. There is tight circumstances and wide circumstances. Like tensions in our body, there are tight tensions and there are wide tensions. There's so much you can do when you know the space that you're in. So that is for the lesson for today. And now for the last 3 minutes of the lesson, I want to keep the maximum 30 minutes a lesson. I would like you to, I've said this so many times in my lessons before. There is an exercise called Chaos Energetics and Chaos Ritual. And I will say it again, because this book, this can help you cut through a lot of bullshit that you're going to hear from a lot of people. And it's the ability to dance. And the ability to make parts of your body dance. And to gain control over parts of your body that you never thought that you can control. Of course, men always go to control their penises because they want to have better sex. This is something that a lot of men go through at the beginning of their practice, including myself. But what I'm talking about is not that. What I'm talking about, you can always start by doing that, of course. You can always try masturbating and allow yourself to kind of control your ejaculation to your benefit. But there are other ways as well. There are other ways, other parts of your body that you can feel and see how they work. And don't go too deep. Like, don't go for your stomach, don't go for your lungs, don't go for your throat, don't go for your skull and all these things. No. Just start with your hands. Put the timer for 5 minutes every day, and I want you to do this exercise on a daily basis. If you can, 2 times a day would be perfect. And just 5 minutes. Nothing more, nothing less. Definitely not less than 5 minutes, because you wouldn't have enough time to do anything in less than 5 minutes. So in these 5 minutes, just start dancing. Start moving the body, moving your body. Maybe you can move like a serpent or something like that. Whatever comes to your mind. And then allow your body to kind of speak to you. Your body will speak to you as thoughts. Try to perceive your thoughts as communication between you and your body. First way. Second, try to take this communication as impulses. Rather than like if you have a thought about someone, like say for example, I want to go to school, I want to go to school, I want to go to school, I want to go to school. This, if you can take it, instead of it taking you outside of your body to go to imagine the school, but rather as a thought that connects you with a part of your body. So let's say, for example, when I say I want to go to school and I feel tension here around my chest, I will go back to my chest and I will try to move and interpret what's going on in my chest with my body. And then when I do that, I await and I keep moving. I don't stop moving for the 5 minutes, but when thoughts come from a certain area, it starts as thoughts, and you trace back the impulse where it comes from. Now, the trick is to know what impulses are in your body, what impulses are in your aura, and what impulses are outside of you completely and don't belong to you. Because along the path, you will notice that you're not only listening to your own body, you're listening to other people's bodies, whether they're talking or not. And once you can get to this point and understand this impulse belongs to me, this impulse belongs to this person, this impulse is getting out of me to that person, this impulse is coming to me from that person, you will start to understand what constructs are you building for these impulses to stay in. And once you do that, you can actually be like, this impulse is actually good. It just makes me feel, it makes me feel kind. Why would I want to diminish that? Because I had bad experiences back in the day. But kindness is nice. It kind of softens the heart. It softens my body structure a bit. Okay, so I want to keep that impulse. In fact, I want to build a nice cushiony construct for it. And start playing with your constructs while you're dancing. Instead of them being like rigid zeros and ones kind of thing, play with them as cushions. And try to use your visualization while you're dancing. But for the time being, I would suggest, if you're going to do it 2 times a day, then make one without visualizations at all, just receiving, just listening and receiving and being receptive and understanding, because it's very important. Another one is, before you go to sleep or something like that, then you go into the dance mode where you're like, okay, so I'm receiving this impulse here, and this impulse, like, thoughts, a lot of thoughts coming from my hands, and my hand, and if I move this hand like this, the impulse gets different like that, and play with your impulses. Of course, don't keep focusing on the impulse itself and how it changes and all that. This will come on the long run. This comes from repeating the exercise. It doesn't come from, like, for example, if you keep repeating an exercise, while thinking about the results that are going to come out of the exercise, you ain't going to get the results. Because you ain't going to be doing the exercise. You're going to be trying to imitate people who already got to the result, which is good, but bear in mind that you didn't get there yet, so don't try to pretend. So, that's it, really. So this is the first lesson. Technically, yesterday was just kind of like putting the hammer down and saying what I will accept and what I will not accept, and it is kind of like a boundary thing. I would consider this the first lesson. I would really welcome your questions. Please write down your questions in the comment section of this video. And if you want any more lessons to learn, please, of course I'm going to be giving you lessons, but it depends really how much time do I have in the day, and I'm going to talk more. That's it for today. See ya.